Hello, you all. What we are talking about today is how to make scatter plots on data, how to come up with a linear model to fit the data, and how to get your calculator to give you line of best fit. The data that I have given you in your notes, and it's also here on the smartboard, is data for the carat weight of various diamonds that were sold at auction and at what the price of those diamonds were when they were sold. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you're going to need to get those weights and those prices in a list page in your calculator. So have the sub pause the video while you do that. You've got them on the page in front of you. You're just going to open up a list page, put in weights and prices for that whole list so that you have it to play with along with me for the rest of the lesson. Just chunk them all in. After you get all the data in your calculator, then the next thing you're going to do is you are going to open up a calculator page, and you are going to press Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations. This is the same place we went when we did one variable statistics, but this time you're going to use number 3, linear regression. You're going to need to fill in fields for this X list and the Y list. Okay, and so just like we did when we did the one variable statistics, if you touch on that right arrow, you've got the variables that you entered on your list page, price and weight. Okay, weight is going to be the X value, and price is going to be the Y value. Where the field says save equation 2, my calculator says F1. Your calculator may say something different. It may say F2, F3, F10. It doesn't matter what the calculator says. What matters is that you remember what's there. Okay, so since my calculator is saving to F1, I'm just going to make a little note here that F1 is where my calculator is going to put that equation so that I remember later. If your calculator is putting it in F4, just make a little note to yourself for where it's going, because you're going to have to go back and grab it. All right, the rest of the fields stay blank. You can just go down and hit OK, and then you're going to get this screen. Okay, equations of lines look like y equals mx plus b. All right, and your calculator is reminding you of that right there. It says regression, R-E-G-E-Q-N, means regression equation, mx plus b. And those first two numbers that it's giving you there, it's giving you the m and the b. Okay, those are the numbers that you need for your regression equation. So I'm just going to copy this over here so that we've got it to play with. Maybe I'm going to be able to get it to move. Not. There we go. All right, so the numbers that you need are the M and the B right here. Just like all lines, you're going to put the M equation in where the M's at. You're going to put the B equation where the B's at. Now, instead of using Y's and X's, I would really like it if you would use words, because that will help you later on if you have to use your line to do something, which you will. So price was the Y variable for us, price right there, okay, and weight was the X variable. So I am going to write price equals 5,502 times weight is the X variable right there. So where the X is at, I'm going to use weight minus 372.7. That equation is your regression equation. Now, to make a scatter plot of the data, you're going to go back to your calculator. We're going to get another new page, and just like when we made the histograms, we're going to number 5, data and statistics. You're going to go down here to the bottom. Okay, we used an X list of weight right up there. So on your graph, you are going to do weight on the x-axis, but then you're also going to click over here on the y-axis, and you're going to do price. Then you've got your scatter plot. Now you can also have your calculator put that line that you just found on this graph. If you do menu, analyze graph, plot function. Now here's where it's important that you remember where your calculator put that equation. Mine saved my equation in F1. So right here, I'm going to type in F1 of X and hit enter, and then you've got your line of best fit on there. Okay, so for the scatter plot of the data, you have that on your calculators, which I'm assuming that you all could transfer that to a piece of paper if you needed to. Going to the next page of your notes, okay, find a linear model line of best fit for the data and add this line to the scatter plot. That is what we just did here. That's your scatter plot, and that line is the linear model for your data. What the linear model means is that you can now use that line to make a prediction for some weight that you don't have. And I swear I'm going to be able to get this thing to move. There we go. All right, observed values are the actual Y values of the data points. Your observed values are the Y values that you put in your calculator list. Those are the actual values that you observed. You put them in the list. That's what the diamonds sold for. Your predicted values are the values that come off of the line of best fit. They may or may not be what actually happened. Okay, they're just your predictions. But say, for example, if you go back to your data and there were no weights of exactly 0.24 carats, you could use your regression equation to figure out how much a diamond that weighed that much should cost. So observed values, what actually happened, what the diamonds actually sold for. Predicted values are the values that come out of your equation. What does the equation tell you that that value should be using your line? The residual is the difference between the observed values and the predicted values. And that order is important. You always do the observed values minus the predicted values. You have to do it in that order. When your calculator finds the line of best fit, it actually calculates every single one of those residuals, every observed value minus predicted value. It calculates them all for you, but unfortunately it hides them, and you've got to figure out where to go to get them. So we're going to go back to your calculator, and we're going to go back to your list. And we're going to go over here to the third column, and I'm just going to call it R for residuals. You need to name the column first. You can't do it later. Okay, then you are going to go to your calculator page, and you are going to tell your calculators to take all the residuals and store them in that list. The way you get to the residuals is you hit your var button right above the 9. And you see, if you go down, you want this one that says stat resid. Okay, resid stands for residuals. Now you're going to store them in that R list, and your store button is right above the var, above the 9 in blue. So you're going to hit Control, var, and that puts the little arrow on your screen. And then I'm going to hit the var button again and tell it to save it in that R list that I just created. So let me do that one more time, because I guarantee you I just lost somebody. Okay, you are going to hit var, stat resid, control var, var again, and pick R. If you need to write that in your notes, write it down, because you're probably not going to remember it when you're doing your homework tonight. And then hit enter. Okay, if you go back to your list now, all of those residuals are in that R list. Okay, and you need to remember what those residuals are. Those numbers have meaning. They came from doing the observed values minus the predicted values. That's what those are. Okay, another way to think of it is they are the distances between the points and the lines on your graph. All right, you're going to have some homework questions that ask you for predicted values, for residuals, and for squares of the residuals. So I'm going to show you next how to get those into your calculator. All right, you already have the residuals on there. Okay, the next thing we're going to get are the predicted values. So I'm going to go over here to column B, and let's call it PRE for predicted. Okay, my predicted values, remember predicted is if I put that weight into my regression equation, okay, what would my calculator tell me the price should be? Okay, that's what I want in this predicted value list. Okay, so we're going to go to your calculator page, and remember your calculators have that regression equation stored somewhere. Mine is stored in F1. Okay, so I want my calculator to take my F1 equation. So I've just typed in F1 and then parentheses. I wanted to take all of those weights and put them into that F1 equation. And the weights are stored in the weight list. So I'm going to hit var, weight. Okay, that tells my calculator to take every single one of those weights in column A, put them into the F1 equation. And then I want to store them, so I'm going to hit Control var, and we're going to store them in that list that I called PRE for predicted values, and hit enter. And now you've got all your predicted values in your column D. Okay, so on your homework, if the homework question is what would the predicted value be for a weight of 0.29, that price we would predict to be $1,223. Okay, the other thing that your homework is going to ask you for is to find the squares of the residuals. And those are easy because you've already got the residuals in this list in that R column, column C. So we're going to go over here. I just hit the right arrow on the bottom of my calculator screen to give me another column. And I want this, I'm going to call this SQR for squares of the residuals. And we've used this equal to row before. Okay, I want this column to be my R numbers squared. So I just hit enter to get the equals, and then I hit bar R, hit my square button, hit enter, and it'll take all your residuals and square them. The reason that this is important is these R squared numbers are the numbers that your calculator uses to actually find your least squares regression line, because what it's doing is it's making the squares of those residuals as small as possible. That is what creates the line a best fit. Okay, my sub has the link to this video. If you need her to replay it again, she can do that. Okay, she can replay chunks of it if you want her to. Okay, good luck, behave yourselves, work hard. I'll talk to you again on Wednesday.